People who are still against sex before marriage, why? My cousin is very religious. He met a girl in January, proposed in February and married in June. No one in my family will admit it, but I'm pretty sure they move so fast because they're horny lol. Because you'll hold up the ceremony. All the guests are waiting patiently. Personally, I am not against it, but I know someone that is. And she said she personally wants to share that experience only with one person in her life and wants to be sure that they'll be together forever. So she wants to be married before. What was interesting to me was that she said she wouldn't mind if her then husband would have not waited. It's just her preference. I don't share that opinion, but I understand her point of view. I'm not so much wait until marriage, but complete align the wait until serious committed relationship camp. Sex is very intimate to me, and I'd like my partner to share that value. No shame to those that are into more casual relationships, it's just not my thing. Redditors try to respect other viewpoints about relationships challenge, impossible. What is the worst reason to have a baby? Why? To save the relationship. It never works, it just drags an innocent baby into a miserable situation. Your parents wanted grandkids. To have an organ donor for later. And #X200B, edit. Thanks for all the votes. This is my highest voted comment so far. I might be a bad person. XD. To compete with someone. To use it as a content on social media. My dad had an incredibly fucked up and traumatizing childhood. Instead of dealing with his subsequent mental illnesses, a person at his church told him to have lots of kids, it will heal your trauma. So he had 6 and we ended up homeless at certain points and traumatized ourselves. Idiot. To sell them. Daughters are being sold into child marriage and sons are sold for forced child labor in many countries. What's a harmless, non-serious secret you've kept forever? First marriage to my late wife, on the day of the wedding, the ring got stolen out of my car. I was freaking out. My 2 best men went into overdrive and took a picture I had at the ring and went to I don't know how many jewelry stores explaining what had happened and if they had a ring that was similar. They went to this really great jewelry maker so said, I have something that is really close, give me a bit and I can make it perfect. He worked his SS off and got it done with about an hour to spare, plus the managed to get my window fixed. The 3 of us are the only ones who know. I end up using that jewelry maker for any jewelry I needed and well I haven't stopped yet. He ended up telling my best men to not worry about the price and for me to come down after the honeymoon to work it out. I did and he gave it to him at the cost of the materials. He is a great guy. He retired during COVID. In 2009 my best friend was struggling to pay rent when his TV broke. So I went and bought him an at the time 42-inch HD TV for over $1,000. I knew he would never accept me spending that much as a gift. So I took it out of the box and put a few small scratches on the back of it and told him I bought a new TV and that he could have my old one that I didn't use anymore. Well, he's doing way better now financially, but he has no idea I did that and I will never tell him. As a previous nanny, I've seen many first steps and heard many first words, but I never share that. When I leave I say something like, I think little one is so close to walking, talking. It's a special moment parents deserve. Who am I to take that from them? One baby was walking with me for a full 2 weeks before he showed his new trick to his parents. When my brother was 4, he won a stuffed animal from a claw machine and it was his favorite thing ever. Slept with it every night for weeks. He fell asleep on the couch and was carried to bed but left his stuffed animal on the floor and the dog decided to tear it to pieces during the night. I spent $40 trying to win another one and put it under his bed for him to find. In 1998 I had a friend who was stuck in a very toxic situation at her home. She had an opportunity for a new start across country in Oregon. She had a Dodge Neon that was hanging on for dear life and decided to pass on the opportunity for fear the car wouldn't make the trip. I told her I had a friend that was a mechanic that owed me a favor and he would give the car a tune-up for free. I didn't really have a friend that was a mechanic. We were both 18 with not much money, but I used all of my savings to pay to have her car made roadworthy 4th trip. She's a mother of 4 now with a great JO band thriving in Oregon. My best friend streamed on Twitch for 1 year, and I was all of her viewers. She regularly streamed to one viewer, me, so I made multiple accounts and pretended to be a stranger who would talk to us during stream. I gave them different personalities, different ways of speech, different backgrounds. I would even create Discord chats to make them seem believable. Eventually she gained a following and I didn't need to anymore, and later she stopped streaming altogether. She still doesn't know. When I was about 15 or 16 I had a sleepover with about 10 of my friends and my sister. I decided to hobby some fun with them and pretended to sleep talk. They recorded it on a cassette tape, and I figured it would just be a fun harmless prank. Well, nearly 30 years later, they still keep bringing it up. They still don't know that I was faking and I don't know how to tell them at this point because so much time has passed. That tape is still floating around. I hate it when they bring ITUP, and they think it's because I'm embarrassed about sleep talking, but the reality is it was just a stupid prank I played when I was a teenager, and I just never in a million years thought that it would still be going 3 decades later. I want this to just fucking die already lol. Nobody knows my secret except for you, random strangers on Reddit. I did a lot of sneaky stuff when I was a kid. I mostly stole chocolates every night up until Christmas Eve. I did it while everyone was asleep. My mom is a light sleeper, so if I stepped anywhere that made the wooden floor creak, she'd yell, "Who's awake?" Well, during the day I would memorize all the creaking spots from my room to the living room, where the chocolates were at. I wouldn't get greedy though, only 2 or 3 chocolates at a time. I was super patient. If I heard any noise that made me suspect someone was awake, I would stand there frozen for nearly 10 minutes at a time. I even had a plan B in case someone had to use the bathroom, hiding spots. One night my dad got up toppy and I hid behind the china cabinet while he walked past me half asleep. When my wife died, she had been working on special occasion letters for all of our kids. Towards the end, the cancer had spread to her brain and she wasn't able to focus on writing much, and when shed it was often unintelligible gibberish. I tried to help her by taking dictation, but she sighed it would mean more if it was in her own handwriting and wanted to finish it. She slipped into a coma and died after only getting through a handful of letters for our eldest child, leaving addressed Enve Lopez only for our other 2 kids. I knew this would be devastating for the 3 kids, and possibly create conflict, so I paid a woman who specialized in calligraphy to literally duplicate my wife's handwriting. I gave her the content, channeling my wife's comments she made tome about what I thought would be meaningful words to our 3 kids when I had helped her dictate a few. And, as she wanted, I have passed them out on special occasions of wedding dates, birth of first child dates, first day of college dates, etc. My kids don't know. They've even shared the Onesh actually wrote with ones written by her surrogate, and thus far the secret remains safe. I haven't told anyone else this but Reddit and hope it stays here a secret as well. I'll take it to my grave. I consider it harmless as it was her intent, but cancer robs so much from people afflicted with it, including their best, most sincere attempts at helping others cope with the loss themselves. My mom won a prize from SiriusXM at the beginning of the pandemic that never arrives even after she followed up. She had been so excited to win something for the first time that I finally found a record store with the items she won, paid for them, and arranged with them to use a generic shipping label and include an apology for the delay and congrats for winning label. She loves her prize and forgives them for delay. My mum is a health nut, with probably disordered eating, who wouldn't let us have cheese in the house when I was kid. When I was mid-20s, I bought a unit and my dad was helping me fix stuff up, so I provided lunch. I said to him, "Bet you're going back to work next week and not have any cheese on your sandwiches." It was then he told me his deepest secret: he had been buying blocks of cheese at work for years. I had no idea he was crafty. And my mum still doesn't. Poor dad has been retired for years though, so not sure on the current cheese consumption status. Dad, I lied that day in kindergarten when I said he had a tummy ache and needed to go home. I was totally fine. I was just super bored and wanted to spend time with you. I used to live in a dorm hall when I was an undergrad. There was this one guy in the dorms who had a mat outside his door. I always thought it was a little weird because you had to walk a long way through carpet to get to the door, so your shoes would surely be mostly clean by that point, and anyone could just simply take it. I kinda just assumed someone would steal it eventually, but after about a month, I noticed it was still there. I obviously wasn't going to steal someone's stuff, but I did want to mess with it, so I simply moved it to the door across the hall. The next day, I saw it had been moved back, so I decided to move it across the hall again. I did this for an entire year. Sometimes they'd give you and leave it at the other door for a week, then I'd just move it back to UCK with them. I loved the idea that it surely led to some sort of argument between the 2 neighbors because nobody's gonna think some guy is just randomly deciding to UCK with them for no reason. I literally never met either of the people that lived in those rooms. I just kept messing with their mat. I had some special moments with it too. On Christmas, I replaced the mat with a Christmas one and then put the original one back the next day. On Easter, I bought the cheapest, shittiest Easter basket I could find and filled it with granny candies like Werther's and those strawberry candies. Then I hid it under the mat. At one point, I bought a second mat to just sometimes put at both doors, then take the second mat away randomly. Eventually I moved into an apartment and couldn't mess with them anymore though. They never got to find out WTF was going on. What's the most unattractive thing a person can do? When having a conversation and someone is attempting to shut down one's excitement about a topic that they are passionate about. Treat people that they consider below them like garbage. Their only source of conversation is gossiping about people. First week of college, my roommate's BF shows up with his roommate, Tate. Me and Tate were left alone for a couple minutes. We were chatting and he was going to show me something in his wallet. Then he was like, "Oops. I almost dropped my Gucci wallet, while smirking at me face vomiting. I have never felt so grossed out or embarrassed for someone in my life. Treat others like hit. Force their beliefs and opinions onto you, and act like a cranky baby for the smallest disagreements.